Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dana. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Hypnosis.
And beyond. Today we have John Scanlon. He's a hypnotherapist, creator of the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. He also specializes in hypnotherapy for functional neurological disorder and adoption related hypnotherapy.
Hey, John. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Good
Hey,
morning to you.
John.
Good afternoon from me, or almost evening, actually.
Yeah. Well, we're so thrilled to have you.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
And we'd love to know a little bit about your background and your specialties and let our viewers learn about you. All things
Okay.
John.
Okay, well, my name is John Scanlon. I'm from Ireland. I live in a place called Wexford, which is about an hour south of Dublin for anyone who knows where Dublin is, or has been there, more to the point. I am a hypnotherapist, but before that, in a past life, I used to be an accountant once upon a time. But I've always been interested in doing this. And about 8 or 9 years ago, I kind of started doing it, and just took over. It literally took over my life. Um, and I suppose, I mean, I work mainly with trauma and anxiety type stuff. That's what I primarily work with. It's kind of led me into two things that I suppose I would specialize in within that general area. They're both one I kind of fell into, and the other I've kind of been living all my life. Pretty much that simple.
Nice.
um, because I'm adopted, and yeah, there's a huge amount of people who carry emotional stigma because of adoption. Separated at birth, which, despite all the good reasons that might exist, is not a natural thing to happen. And the disconnection between mother and child isn't supposed to happen. It's meant to be the thing that helps the neuroplasticity grow and all the pathways and all that. And suddenly it's gone. So it has an impact. And that's what I was presenting at when I was in Hypnothoughts last week, in terms of how it shows up in the therapy room. Because there's people show up with anger, they show up with rejection issues, they show up with identity issues. Who the hell am I?
Mm.
So it plays through life. And I suppose I used hypnotherapy to help me to overcome a lot of those. And then I wanted to help others doing it while I was at it. Um, in the midst of all that, I, I suppose I fell into two other things. One is working with medical related issues. There was a particular issue called functional neurological disorder, which is where the brain and body are disconnected. Um,
Mm.
so they're both perfect health according to all the scans, but yet people end up with seizures, dizziness, head banging, all kinds of things. And it's trauma, pure and simple. And I fell into it because somebody was having 5 or 6 non-epileptic seizures a day. There's no medical support. People will medicate for the anxiety, depression that comes with it because you've suddenly lost your freedom. You can't do half the things you used to do.
Yeah.
But once we cleared the trauma, the whole thing kind of disappeared. Everything stopped. It took about 3 sessions, but then it was kind of done. So you're kind of, I suppose I fell into that more so by accident. And then I did one other thing that I fell into, which I'm probably more famous for, which is I decided to set up a conference, and I created the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. And as a consequence of that, um, yeah, it's grown to be one of the largest in Europe. And yeah, it's a great place to come, and it's great fun.
Wow. Fascinating, fascinating stuff. I have a question for you about the how adoption is showing up in the therapy room. Some of the issues that you are discussing of rejection and abandonment and some of these things. Just curious, do you feel that people who have childhoods where they are rejected, even if they're with their birth parents, do you find that that experience is similar when people are disconnected? You know, there just isn't that bond. Or do you believe that adoption is really a nuanced, particular?
No, I think adoption is just something that happens. Life happens on top of that. So, other people will feel not good enough. They'll feel rejected by whatever, by their circumstances. Fostering would be something else where this would be, something that would potentially happen. And it, I suppose, with adoption, it's just that it's from the first word, from the very first moment. And because a child can't speak, doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't feel the emotion. It's kind of trapped in the nervous system. Um, but it does show up because, let's say, if you just take that thing of rejection, you know, if you kind of feel like something's gone south, you leave first without really trying very much. A lot of people will do that
Mm,
purely because then they're the one making the choice and they're avoiding the rejection. Does that make sense?
mm,
And it's an
absolutely.
unconscious thing. Consciously, it doesn't make any sense, but unconsciously, it makes loads of sense. Because one of the other factors is, and again, this would apply in or any kind of early childhood trauma, fostering, adoption, whatever. You've no control, you've no say over what happens. So that leads to kind of sometimes a fear of authority, or a need to try and control your circumstances. So in a case like that, it might be, yes, well, I'm going to control my actions and how I feel about this, so I'm just going to leave.
Mm, interesting. And do you feel that there's a difference for children who are told they're adopted and children who later learn that they're adopted?
I don't think there is a difference. I think it's an unconscious response that's there.
Mhm.
It may play out differently for different children, of course, because there's different sets of circumstances in every child's life. But um, I think it's that underlying core belief. It is probably worse if you're not told and you find out later, because then there's anger issues. Why didn't you tell me? Even though people will tell you, and then you still kind of feel it almost. It's one of it's an odd one, because some people will take that as, well, you're telling me, so that's great, so I know and I'm accepted. And others will go, well, you're telling me, so I was rejected, so therefore, you know. Um, and I suppose it's slightly different today in that, in a lot of times when, even going back, even in Ireland up to say 10 years ago, where a lot of the adoptions would have been foreign adoptions and stuff with people coming in, and we were a
Mhm,
fairly close society,
mhm,
in terms of we hadn't expanded to the same extent as we have today, where I don't know, about 20% of our population is non-native these days, which is great. But it meant that, you stood out, you were different, and
mhm,
that heightened sense of difference that comes with whether it's fostered or adopted or whatever.
mhm. That's so interesting. So, um, would you say that a large part of the private clients that you're seeing are adopted, or do you just
It's
sort
about a
of
quarter. Yeah, it's
Mhm,
about a quarter. I mean, about a quarter of it is adoption. About over another quarter would be, the medical, functional neurological disorder stuff, and then the rest is just general anxiety and stuff. I don't really do the smoking and weight loss. I do, but not. I never go looking for them to the same extent. It
mhm,
really is. That's the kind of thing that kind of excites me and keeps me going.
wow.
I think it's probably it's an interesting thing, which is that, you know, I set up the conference, and I don't mean this to sound terrible, and I really don't. And I can't believe I'm actually saying it publicly, but this might explain something. Um, I set up the conference, and the first year it was like great, and you get a standing ovation, you're bringing people together. And the second year you get the same thing, and it still kind of felt empty a little bit. It felt a little empty.
Mm,
But about 3 months later, myself and Shiva Granger trained about 20 hypnotherapists to work with adoption people. And it's funny because that was one of the most complete feelings that I've had. It was like,
mm,
this was almost why I was doing this, if that makes, without me knowing it, it was a pure
yeah.
unconscious thing. But it was that feeling that was like, yeah, yeah, that's what this is all about.
Oh, that's so nice.
You know,
I just the amount of love that you pour out is really
thank you.
special, you know?
Thank you.
That's such a loving niche of, wanting to help people heal that wound.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the, so much of what I do is about non. It's I'm not using any form of regression techniques. unless I absolutely have to. Most of the stuff that I use is content free because it gives the unconscious permission to let stuff go
Mhm.
for two reasons. One, it takes away fear, but most importantly, I mean, I've lived through a lot of the crap that the people who come here have gone through. Why do you want to put them through that? They don't need to, So I love the content free hypnosis. I absolutely,
Mhm.
I use it all the time. I think I use about 3 levels. No, I don't think I know I use 3 levels of disassociation before I kind of do any work whatsoever.
Mhm.
But in every level, people are letting go.
Mhm.
And it just helps people to release so much stuff. Um, because ultimately, and I suppose this is where the work has kind of gone recently, is that, often if you take the logical levels model of the world, environment creates behaviors, beliefs, and identity. We fall into the identity that we are. We arrived there by accident. So much of what it is now is about helping people to redefine that based on what they know today and where they want to be, and kind of
Mhm.
develop tools and techniques that allow that to happen.
That's I love it. It's so interesting. And then your other the medical specialty, you said that there's a disconnect between sort of the
Yeah,
body.
so basically, it's a thing called functional neurological disorder, and some practitioners will disagree with me, but just based on my experience, it is the way that I treat it, and it's pretty much always successful. So if you go for an MRI, there's nothing wrong with your brain, nothing. If you get a scan in your body, there's absolutely nothing wrong with your body. But yet people will have non-epileptic seizures. They will just get dizzy. So that might mean they could lose the ability to drive. Some people can't walk; they lose motor, either mouth or ears or even legs. They just lose that ability to speak. Sorry, excuse me. And it kind of obviously that would panic anybody if you've had the freedom to move anywhere, and now suddenly it's gone. It's kind of like, and the medics will say that there's nothing they can do. You'll get a diagnosis eventually of functional neurological disorder. And I think the last stats I saw were 20% of all visits in the US to a neurological department, neurology department were being diagnosed as FND. That's a pretty
Mm,
significant number.
yeah.
And it's going to be the same here. Like I had a client a few weeks ago, and she had rang me, or she was referred to me by another therapist who's kind of gone, I'm having all these things. I've been to neurology. They haven't given me a diagnosis yet. And well, I know what it's going to be. So here it is. Let's do this. She was, the issue was resolved before they'd even given her the diagnosis,
Mm.
you know, and
Wow.
it was about clearing past trauma. Ultimately, the nervous system was overloaded. And once we can help them to clear the nervous system, to clear that overload, the body reconnects itself. Because one thing's like the client is the person who does all the work, and all of us, each and every one of us, and all I do is remind them of this. Everyone has a superpower, which is called their immune system. Every single one of us. It heals colds, cuts, flus, bruises. We get a cut, we put a plaster over it, we forget about it. It's fixed. Give it a day, a week, however. We just remind them of that, and then work with the part that is their immune system to allow them to support that process.
Mm.
So because all the medics will say is, here's something for your anxiety, here's something for your whatever, you know. So it's a fascinating thing, and it's a growing thing, unfortunately, because we live in a world that's more pressurized, that's more stressed, that's more, you know. There is, I suppose, the other side of it is that more people are in therapy, so they're actually addressing some of their issues. But obviously, not everybody is, because so many people are just coming out of neurology departments with that diagnosis because there's more and more of them.
Yeah.
And it's not just in the US, it's everywhere
Hmm.
in
That's
that
right.
pressurized world. So yeah, I think I'm probably only one of the few people who deals with it in Ireland, at least. But you know,
And do you meet with clients online or is it
I do
in
both.
person?
I have three locations. So I work here where I am right now, which is just at the side of my house. It's quite rural, so it's a kind of a narrow, it's a narrow market. And particularly if you've got functional neurological disorder, I've got to work online with people because they could be from
Mm,
anywhere. They can't drive. Um, I have a place in about a town 20 minutes away from me here in Gorey, and then I'm also in Dublin kind of 1 or 2 days a week. Just depends. I have locations everywhere, so depends. But I'm kind of set in my days. Um, it's yeah, I actually love working from here because I'm really surrounded by farms, so it's very quiet and very just
mm.
rural. You know,
Sounds beautiful.
yeah. But now, in fairness, there's
Mhm.
big population centres. Well, by Irish standards, not by US standards. There's big population centres, not by LA standards, anyway. Kind of within this, within a 20-minute drive of this region, so it's easy enough for people to find it.
Very nice.
You know. Um, So yeah, it's a joy. I love hypnosis. I love hypnotherapy. I love the power of people's minds and just helping them access it. Like there is really nothing better than you know, and you guys both do emotional detox, don't you?
Mhm.
So like, there's nothing better than when you see someone's face and they come in, they're kind of stressed, and then they've lost about 10 years by the time they're finished. They walk out the door. It's just,
I have
Yeah,
it
one
is.
of the questions that I wanted to ask you is because you have a twinkle in your eye and you look very happy. So, like, you've done the work with these people. Is there any advice you could give as to maintenance? Like, or is how are you living your life? Like,
Well, one of the things that I did with
tips.
another Irish hypnotherapist here recently. So, is this maintenance for the client or maintenance for the therapist?
For the client, like, well, I mean, I hope you're doing this too, right? So,
Well, that's a separate conversation, actually.
yeah.
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 For the client, what I always say is to come back every 6 months or 3 months or whatever it suits them for an emotional detox, or I just give them an audio that they listen to. And the reality is that, and I think it was Kaz Riley said it to me. I've been really privileged to be able to meet so many people and actually interview them. Because of the conference. And I think it was Kaz put it in my head one day. She had said she's a hypnotherapist from the UK. Just for anyone who's listening and doesn't know that, um, she said she had this client and they were finished. They'd done their 4 or 5 sessions, whatever it was, and she said, "You're finished now." I'm going to call this client Mary just because I can't remember her name, right? It was like, "Yeah, you're finished now." Okay. No, I'll see you in a few months. What? No, no, you're finished. You don't need to see me. No, no, I'll see you again. But you don't need to see me. And she just looked at her and went, "Kaz, I go to the doctor for a checkup. I go to the dentist for a checkup. I go get my hair done once a month. Why can't I get my mental health checked?" And I thought, perfect. It's fantastic because, okay, I'll use this very bad example of a pressure cooker, but life causes us to get that to rise all the time. And it's just called living. So we all go through stresses, and the problem is that if we don't clear it, it just keeps rising. So we've got to clear it every so often, and it gets rid of the mental fog. It gets rid of everything that, and it's like there was a person here on Saturday who, they wanted to start a new business and they just wanted their mental health cleared before they started. They left about 10 years looking younger, and it was just that to kind of go, it makes a huge difference. So and particularly say with functional neurological disorder, because stress can re-trigger certain stuff.
Mm.
I always say just get it done every so often, or the first sign of anything, just pick up the phone and ring, which in fairness is what most people do if it happens, which isn't often, but when it does, it does. You know.
And well, with that, can you tell us more about the practitioner then yourself? How do you
Well,
maintain
I go to things like hypnothons,
this composure, this wonderful composure that you have?
um, it's funny actually because myself and Laura MacDonald, another hypnotherapist here, we kind of did something. We had done it for the Irish conference about 8 or 9 months ago. We're at this thing on self-care because therapists know how to do this. They just don't. They just don't. And there's no point in saying otherwise. Like we know
Right.
all the tools. And there's things like, well, I don't need the support because I should know everything myself, so therefore I'm not going to ask someone else.
Mhm.
Or, my client needs me, so therefore it's like a helper syndrome. My client needs me, so therefore I've got to be the one. And I suppose the other thing that's not often said, and I'm going to say it right now, is that for most therapists, there's financial pressure because you're suddenly, you're self-employed, and particularly as hypnotherapists, we're turning people over and over and over. So you've still got to, you are your marketeer, you are your accountant, you are your bookkeeper, you are your therapist, you are your, you need to take time. So like, and I'm not talking about the say going to the spa once a month or once a week. I'm literally talking about every day, just taking a little bit of time, even if that's in between sessions of just doing a bit of grounding or doing some nervous system reset work, tapping, whatever it might be, anything, having a drink of water. Um, for me, it's always nature. I just love being in nature. Once I can get out to it, and I'm surrounded by it here, so I'm 10 minutes from the beach. I'm just, I've kind of everything on my doorstep. So I'm lucky like that. But it's always about remembering to do it, which,
Oh yeah.
Fair point.
yeah,
Mhm.
we did actually, no, we did, I think we did a kind of an 8 or a 6 or an 8 chapter course of here's all the things and here's how you can do it, because we felt we needed to, you know, because therapists don't actually do it for themselves. I mean, for me, I have two therapists that I would pick up the phone and I'll talk to anything about, you know, because we all need support. When you're absorbing, and even if people aren't speaking very much when they're here, because a lot of it is content free, you're still absorbing a lot of the intensity of those sessions. So we need to take time out. And sometimes we come across things that trigger us too. That's the other side of it.
Mhm.
You know?
Absolutely. So when you talk about self-care, you keep coming back to the nervous system. So do you feel that true self-care is getting into that nervous system? Because
I
right
do,
there's
yeah. Nervous
yeah.
system is mental, emotional, and physical. So if we can do some work that allows us to get into that, I mean, we do the mental and the emotional side as therapists. A lot of what I use is the somatic stuff. It's like Carl Smith would always say, avoid, avoid. You replace it with something, so you're generating a feeling in the body, which is somatics basically.
Mhm.
That's what ultimately, it doesn't have to be the physical, movement of hips or arms or hands or stretches, or it doesn't have to be that. It can literally be just those feelings that you generate within the body. Um, so yeah, for me it is always about that. If we only focus on the mental and the emotional, we don't take care of the third leg of it, which is the body. Or
Mhm.
if we only focus on the body and we don't take care of the mental or the emotional, again, we're only dealing with part of it. So for me, it is about nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, might there be a little technique we could do together
Well,
right
there's
now?
a whole load of them. A very simple one, if you want to do this, is
Sure.
okay. Take a deep breath into the count of 7. Hold it and exhale slowly to the count of 11. Now, if you do that about 3 or 4 times, so do it again. You can almost purse your lips so you let the air out even slower. You can do just one more because I can see the difference in you already. So notice the difference. Now, what
Yeah.
happened there is that firstly, you move from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic. So you move from stress to relaxation. You do that 6 times. That's 2 minutes, give or take.
Mhm.
And you will pretty much completely just bring yourself back into the present. I mean, there's a very simple one of just look around you and see 3 different things right now. Just literally focus on 3 things. Just find them.
So when you say focus on the 3 things,
Yeah.
it almost a tunnel vision to them, just in
Yeah,
terms of
just
the
to know they're there, just to really know they're there. Now here
okay.
are 2 things. Just here are 2 things. And then just touch one thing. Feel it. And you're in the room. You're fully present. You're not off in the past. You're not off in the future. You're back right
Mm,
here, right now.
here.
You can do that on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with all the senses. But it's just a sense of, there's also things like you can just tap just for a minute. EMDR type stuff. Clearly do that. And
Mhm.
just for a minute or two, even in between sessions, drinking a glass of water is another one that's really good.
Mm.
Um, I have a booklet somewhere which I will send down to you, and you're happy to give out to anyone who wants it.
Aw.
That is
Finally, you're
entirely.
being sweet, John. We've been waiting. We've been waiting.
Well, the question is, why is this happening?
Why?
Why are we going into this? I mean, it may seem obvious to a lot of people, but why do we go into this fight or flight? I guess is that what we should be calling it? This
You mean in terms of us as therapists?
the no, as
Oh,
far as the
fine.
anxiety, the bringing
Okay.
us,
Why do we go into it?
why we need to do these breathing techniques, why we need to be using these tools.
Because we go, well, there's a whole, there's a number of different reasons for that. So some of it is history and some of it is impact, if that makes sense. Anxiety is a thought pattern. Anxiety is just something we've kept repeating based on things that have happened in the past, and it gives us a fear of the future. The actual reality is that the reticular activating system part of our brain is our filter that decides if something is positive or negative, you know? And I often use, and this will be completely not relevant for the US market, so I'll slightly change this, right? Well, let's say, for instance, what's the football team in LA?
The galaxy.
That's soccer, right?
Yes. Oh, did you mean
I,
I'm
I
s
meant the
oh, you
American
mean
football team.
American football?
Yeah,
Oh,
the one that looks like a rugby ball that's not actually round. Yeah, you know that one.
well, this is a very international group. I'm in the US, Jennifer's in Canada, and you're in Ireland.
So there you go.
So, I thought
Okay.
soccer was more relevant because
Well,
it's an
let's say, for instance, right? Let's say, for instance, Canada were playing the US in football, in something that was really important, and you were both wanted your country to win and win really well. And let's say, for argument's sake, that Canada won by about 10 goals to nil. Jen
whoa.
would be over the moon. Yeah, I know you don't believe it. You wouldn't be that happy. Yeah? You
No.
both saw the same thing. You both saw the exact same game. So it's the glasses, the filters that we look through everything at. And this is the reticular activating system is our filter. So if we can teach that to look for more for the positives and take the best the best things that happen us, retain them and take the learnings from the negative things, then we don't necessarily have anxiety to the same extent. Because we're not looking at negative stuff, because that's what anxiety is. It's fear of the future based on the past. But the future, anything can happen, from the very best to the very worst. Like, why do we have to say it's going to be in that bottom quarter or whatever, bottom third of all of that? Most of it is kind of neutral or hopefully even good. Um, and when even that thing of seeing, 3 or 5 things, hearing sounds, touching things, smelling things, it brings you back into the present. And you notice that you can't be thinking about stuff before now or even ahead of now. You're right here, right now.
Mhm.
Even the breath work does the same thing. The tapping just calms the nervous system down. Our EFT, just calms the nervous system down, and it just brings you back into the present, because the future is unlimited potential. Unlimited, anything can happen.
That's
So
right.
that's why I kind of recommend that, not only for therapists but for clients as well. But what I do find is that when they've done emotional detox and when they've done the work, it's kind of like anxiety just is something that they used to do. They don't really think about it too much anymore. I mean, I always recommend that people do appreciation lists every day, just to sit
Mhm.
down either at the end of the day or the start of the following day and write down stuff, the good stuff from the previous day.
Mhm.
It's just, it focuses this part of your brain. That's all. To go
Yeah.
looking for positives. It's hard to be anxious when you're. There is another one, and you may have seen this before. Right. So if you drop your shoulder, think about something that would worry you just for a moment, right? Right. And when you got it, just give me a number out of 10, 10 being the highest, 0 being nothing. You got it?
Yeah, I would say an 8, 8. I could
8.
easily
Okay,
do
10.
an 8.
Let's just say 10.
Yeah.
10. Okay. Right. Well, it's not going to get much worse. Drop your shoulders. You already have. Frown. Frown now and think about it, right? Yours can't have got much worse than 10, Jen, because 10 was the highest. Then what's yours got to?
Yeah. Up to 10.
Okay, now put your shoulders back, put your head up, smile. Keep smiling and think about the same thing. Just keep smiling and think about it. Just for a moment. Notice how much different it is right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's your physiology changes your psychology.
Mhm.
That's not
Yeah.
unique to me. I mean, Tony Robbins has been saying that for years, but it's about reminding people that when we change the way we stand, I mean, people might say, why are depression rates among young people gone up? I have a mobile phone in my hand. I'm looking down at it all the time.
Yeah.
Good
That's right.
point. Yeah.
That's right.
Our
We should hold our
physiology.
phones up here.
There you go. That's what we need. One of these that we walk around.
Yeah.
Well, when we get the glasses, we'll be fine. It'll all be there.
That's right.
I think
Well,
Facebook already nearly have that, don't they?
I love it. Uh, well, could you just share with our viewers when is your next Irish conference?
Oh,
So that
the 25th and 26th of April in Dublin. So that's what, 9 months
2026.
away from now. 2026, yeah,
Yeah.
it's 9 months away from now. Um, I know we have some people who I hope to be announcing next week, and it will be a cracker.
Excellent.
So basically, it's the fourth one. It has got to the probably I think behind the UK, it's the largest one in Europe, and it's only getting bigger. Last year, I think we had 10 different nationalities presenting, and about 10 or 15 different countries attending. So while it's predominantly Irish, there's a huge amount of Italians and Spanish and French and German and English, Americans, Canadians. There was even an Australian, I think, there last year. They were from all over Europe, and it was amazing. And it's
Mm.
great because ultimately, and I think that's what this is about for me. The conference is about four different things. And I set it up because you work on your own most of the time. And it's only when you get to join groups that you get to realize, hey, there's other people out there, and I suddenly have contacts.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the training schools here didn't connect people together afterwards. Not like, say, MMHA or where you still connect afterwards. But so it was about connecting, it was about learning, and it was about bringing in kind of the best in the world. Um, and But most importantly, it's about community. It's about building a sense of community. That sense of community that existed in Hypnothoughts this year, we've had that for the last couple of years, and it's just been amazing. It's the one thing that no matter how big it gets, I never want to lose is that sense of community. It really is it's so important. It's like you go to a place where everybody you feel at home almost because everybody talks the same language. You're not, you know, like you meet your friends and they don't necessarily know hypnosis, so therefore they don't understand where it is that if you start to talk about it, it's like it's lost on them a little bit.
Mhm.
Whereas in this field, in these places, whether it's Hypnothoughts, whether it's Dublin, it's just it is that sense of community and camaraderie. Because ultimately, my job is to make hypnotherapy more accessible to the general public and more accepted so that they'll use it. Ultimately, because it's the fastest therapy by a mile.
Yeah.
Most of the problems are in the emotional brain. You can't access it through logic.
Wonderful.
You
Wonderful.
can't think your way out of it.
Kill that.
Well, that's great. And that brings us to our next segment, which is a silly subconscious question. And
Dear.
our question for you today, John, is what is something that you're good at that is really kind of silly? It's just a silly thing to be good at.
Dancing.
Nice.
Well, I don't know whether I'm good at it, but I like it. There you go. I love music.
Wonderful. Any style in particular? Do
Nope,
you
I
do
took
the
up salsa
Irish?
dancing. I took up salsa dancing recently, so there you go. So I'll tell you now, in about 6 months, when you get to Dublin in April, I'll be good at it.
There you go.
Wow. So you didn't get to see John bust a move in Vegas?
There you go.
No.
No,
No, eh? You have to
no.
go to Ireland for
You have
that.
to
All
come to
right.
Ireland for that.
Great. So, is that listed on the Irish conference that, the salsa, that'll be what you're
No, but
talking
actually,
about?
that's a really good point. I'm going to have to put it on the
Yeah.
questionnaire. Yeah, absolutely. It's compulsory.
Excellent. I love it.
Not. Yeah, no, I just love music. I love nature. I love being outside. I love sport. It's just I wouldn't necessarily good at any of them, but I enjoy doing them all.
Well, maybe you'll surprise us with the next question. What is your beyond hypnosis, beyond dancing?
Oh
What
God,
is something that people might want to know about you?
what is my beyond? I've never actually. No, you told me I have to come up with the very first answer that comes to my mind, and you've probably just given it to you with music. Um, I think for me, it's always about helping people. So there isn't actually,
Mhm.
it's funny. Like I was an accountant before, and I can't see beyond where I am right now. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I don't kind of see
That's
beyond
a
that.
great place to be.
Yeah. No, I genuinely,
Congratulations.
that's as true as I'm sitting here. It's just one of those things that I suppose when you find what you love, you don't want to change it. So there doesn't necessarily seem to be a beyond.
Mhm.
You know, I mean,
Beautiful.
look, I'm a therapist, I'm a trainer, and I'm a conference organizer. There's not too much more in hypnosis I can actually go,
Mhm.
unless somebody has any ideas that I haven't thought of. But
You never know.
Exactly.
Well, we
um,
loved having you today. And of course, we already want you back. But in the meantime, Jennifer, what do we always say?
Peace out.
Peace out.
peace out.